get fat.
Got it.
Hello.
This lane, I think.
I would like to challenge Matt Bozak.
Scotty Bull.
Jason Belmasi.
Oh, baby, it is a Friday night. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. And we have got a great one for you tonight. A gentleman who has been a regular, at least in the chat, on our live shows here on Bowling with the Fef, and can't wait to dig into his bowling story. And we will in earnest in just a moment here. Flush in the Pocket podcast saying what's up. Have fun. Everyone, make sure you watch replay for both podcasts. He's got one going on simultaneously. And that's the beauty of this thing. You can watch this show live. You can go back and watch Flush in the Pocket on replay, vice versa. It's kind of a cool thing that happens here with YouTube, because once the show is out there, it's out there, and you can go back and review as much as you want. If you're on Team Live, like Derek was just a moment ago, feel free to chime in the live chat. It's open right now. And if you're on replay, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of the show. And if you have any questions, we'll be sure to answer those for you. So today is the last day, my last plea to you about voting for this channel, for Bowling with the Fef, for best local podcast. It's on a newspaper that you get at the grocery store here in my area called Volume 1. They do a Best of the Chippewa Valley reader poll, and today is the final day of voting. So if you go to bit.ly/vote BWTF2024, it is case sensitive, so make sure and capitalize the V and the BWTF. I would certainly appreciate it if you voted for the channel for best local podcast. Doesn't really mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. It's kind of pride, maybe a little bragging rights, but they do the best of every year. This is my second year getting into it, and certainly would appreciate everybody who supports the channel, either in that way, subscribing, liking this video, or all three. So the PBA handed out the postseason awards this week, leading up to today, and Player of the Year, not a surprise as far as I'm concerned. EJ Tackett has scored 5 tour titles this year, more than $458,000 in earnings, both leading the tour. He was the obvious choice for Player of the Year in 2023. He also led in points average and major wins with 2. You'll recall he won the PBA World Championship and the U.S. Open. The Harry Golden PBA Rookie of the Year is Cortez Schenk, who led all rookies in points average and earnings. Johnny Petraglia taking home the Tony Reyes Community Service Award. He has helped raise millions of dollars through his work with Bowl to Veterans Link, which pays for recreation therapy programs for veterans. It's also the PBA Tour's official charity starting up next year. And BJ Moore taking the PBA's Steve Nagy Sportsmanship Award. So congratulations to all the award winners. Although it's obvious, that EJ was going to take home Player of the Year this year. It's certainly a tremendous accomplishment. He's done it once before, but EJ Tackett, I'll go out on a limb. It's not really going out on a limb by saying he's a generational talent who will most certainly be a Hall of Famer someday. And what an accomplishment for him to win 5 times in one tour season. So if any of you play fantasy football and you go to sleep on Monday night with what you perceive to be a win in your back pocket, but then wake up the next day to a stat correction and find out that you've lost, you kind of get the gist of this next part of the show. I want to talk a little more about the Feftacular. You'll recall this is Premier Flooring, who was celebrated as the winner of the Feftacular and the chip magnet salsa that went with it. However, after further review, the Serbskis Club, which is the team that I sub for, you can see me bowling right there, has determined that they defeated Premier Flooring and not the other way around by the score of 18.5 points to 17.5 to win the second consecutive salsa championship. They said on Facebook that we won't get into the grimy details, but our unbeaten salsa streak remains intact. So that's great news. Always want to, win the event that's
correct. Yeah, correct.
And celebrating the show and Chip Magnet salsa and all that.
Pete tripped the 4-pin.
So I'm glad to know that we took home the salsa title.
We told the story about Pete Stew bowling ball.
To say that we'll do it again next year. It's always the night before Thanksgiving and always a tremendous time at what we call the Country Club of Bowling, Village Bowl in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. And thanks to all of them for supporting the channel, supporting my effort to live stream it. You can see the Feftacular 2 on the channel to this day. And Chip Magnet was kind enough to send them some salsa, enough for both teams, as a matter of fact. So as a token of their appreciation for a tremendous Feftacular number 2. We've got a couple of live streaming events coming up that I want to talk about. This one, the Med City Holiday Weekend. It's a week from tomorrow, actually, December 16th and 17th. A big adult tournament, the Holiday Match Games at Colonial Lanes in Rochester, Minnesota. We'll live stream that one start to finish on Saturday. Then on Sunday, you've got a Minnesota Junior Bowlers Tour major event, and we will stream that one start to finish as well. Big thanks to Al Houston and Al Houston Events, the folks at Colonial Lanes, and all the various sponsors for putting that tournament on. And I cannot wait to get going on that one. Again, December 16th and 17th at Colonial Lanes in Rochester, Minnesota. Then, after we celebrate the new year, we're bringing it right back here. The Chippewa Valley Match Games. Once again, I will be live streaming the finals of that event, which will happen on January 7th, typically about 2 in the afternoon Central Time. This is one of the biggest amateur events in this area. A guaranteed top prize, I believe he's usually at about $1,000. I'm sorry, 1,500 according to the flyer there. So they do a step ladder on 4 different pairs of lanes, and to determine a champion in that. And this is an event that goes back decades in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, in the Chippewa Valley at Wagner's Lanes. And again, you can catch that live stream on January 7th. January 7th, 2024. As strange as that sounds, but yeah, we're bringing in the new year with another live stream event, and looking forward to both of those. Don't forget also this next week, the PBA League Draft, Wednesday, December 13th, 7 p.m. Central on Bowl TV. We'll get to see who's going to be on which team in the PBA Elite League, which is kind of a new format this year for the 2024 PBA Tour season. Well, if you have seen this show before, and I'm hoping you have. If you haven't, there's plenty of opportunity to catch it on replay. You know that Chip Magnet is the official salsa sponsor of Bowling with the Fef. It's based in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, distributing salsa, relish, and other food products to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. If you're in Richmond, Virginia, and you're looking for Chip Magnet, head over to Food City Stores and you will find it there. Otherwise, go to chipmagnetsalsa.com. And if it is your first time trying Chip Magnet Salsa, have we got a deal for you? Punch in this promo code at checkout, BWTF2023. If you're spending $30 or more, you will get 20% off your purchase. Limit 1 order per email address from our friends at Chip Magnet. Chip Magnet Salsa. Raise your snack standards. And as always, thank you so much to Chip Magnet for your support of local bowling and Bowling with the Fef. Well, our guest tonight is one of the bigger supporters of the channel, and profuse thanks to him and his loyalty and interest in our content. He has been with us live in the chat week after week, which I can't tell you how much I appreciate. He's a competitive bowler in Virginia, where he is just starting to get into adult competition after a long, successful career in juniors. So let's bring him out. We're calling this one Sky's the Limit. and the sky is the limit for Connor Brown from Chester, Virginia. Connor, welcome to Bowling with the Fef.
Thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be here today.
Yeah, it's a great honor for me to talk to you, I guess, as close to in person as you can, going from Wisconsin to Virginia like that. Can you start out by telling us about how you found the channel and what kind of drew you in?
Well, I do watch a lot of bowling podcasts and YouTube channels, but the main one that got me here was watching the Prodigy Bowlers Tour and having Coach Randy introduce this podcast. So I was like, I'm going to watch some of the content and then maybe one day I could be here. So now I'm here today.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I really had a great time talking with Coach Randy. That was an episode a while back, I believe in the 1-0s. So about 40 episodes ago. But what a great story of how he put that all together, starting in the Atlanta, Georgia area, moving on to Kansas City, and really putting together a professional looking production of junior bowling and junior bowling tournaments. So that's a great one to see. And I've heard that he's been a little bit under the weather the last few days. So I want to give our best to Coach Randy and hopes that he gets well soon. Okay, so you're watching Prodigy. You stumble on this one. You see the one with Randy Brown. What keeps you coming back?
It's just a great community that you've got going on here. So, and I mean, the content is great. I liked the live streams when you talk to a lot of professional bowlers and yeah, and I feel like you deserve a lot more subscribers than you do right now. I feel like it should just keep growing and everybody should be on your podcast.
Awesome. I love that. That's a great segue into this little number right here. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. You can hover over that logo in the lower right. Click it. Subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, and you certainly help me and my efforts toward creating this content. And yeah, thank you so much for that, Connor. That means a lot. We talked before. You're a follower of professional bowling, the PBA Tour. Tell me what you think of what's coming up. I mean, do you have any plan to attend any of the tour stops this year?
Well, I was a long time ago, like back in 2020, when before COVID came about, my parents were actually going to surprise me with a trip to a PBA Tour stop. And, well, it got canceled due to COVID. So, like, that was definitely very difficult to find out. But if there's an event that's close to me, like within driving distance, that would be, I would definitely go to one and see the opportunity to watch all these amazing bowlers and watch them on TV as well.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic experience. I just went to my first one last year, so yeah, I would not even last year, 2 years ago, the World Series of Bowling when it was in Milwaukee. So if those of you out there have the opportunity, I would definitely recommend it. Connor, let's kind of get into your bowling story. How did you get started in this crazy sport we all love?
So I started like back when I was like probably like 9 or 10, and it was definitely a struggle in the beginning. I wasn't very good at the time, still throwing a house ball down the lane. And then I was throwing like 8 pounds and watching it go into the gutter, get one every time. So my scores were like really low. So then I got my first bowling ball. It had a shark on it. It was a Visiball. And it was, and that kind of got me going into this sport, and I found it very entertaining and that kind of thing. So then when I was visiting my dad one summer, my mom actually called me and she said, "Why don't we try a bowling league in the fall?" And I was like, "I think that sounds like a great idea because then I would meet some more friends and get better and kind of grow into the sport."
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you remember about joining that league? I mean, what was it like to go from, kind of doing your own thing to something organized for the first time?
It was definitely nerve-wracking because, I was bowling on a team, and of course, team format is way different than, as opposed to bowling on your own. So it was it was definitely a different kind of experience, but I loved it. And, I wanted to get better and kind of grow myself into the sport. And that's kind of how it all got started for me.
Yeah. You told me beforehand that as you had this kind of hunger to get better, you sought out some coaching and ended up working with a coach. Who was that coach, and what was it like to kind of get some direction for the first time?
So the coach that I got, his name is Dewey, and um he's been bowling for a long time, and I kind of met him at a tournament at another bowling center, and I decided to ask him to get some coaching and try to better my game because that first season, I was really struggling with getting those high scores and um, just in general. So he he said, "Sure, why not?" And he actually made them free, so I was able to get some free coaching after league, which was pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there one thing or maybe a couple things that he taught you or told you that really resonated with you and you could tell those were the things that were going to get you to the next level?
Yeah, so the first day of coaching, he was just kind of analyzing my game, taking a couple of videos of some shots, and my I had a lot of things to work on, let's just say. I had a 7-step approach,
Okay.
and my swing would kind of go behind my back a little bit. And one thing that he taught me was that it's important to stay patient. If you want to get better, you got to stay in it mentally. And, don't get down on yourself when you've got so much to work on. And I mean, I still, have trouble with that. So I'd say the mental game is really important. It's more important than the physical game.
Yeah. We sit here in this society that's full of scoreboards, and bowling is no different. We've got scoreboards, plastered all over the place, high scores posted up in the bowling center, the scoreboard right above the lane. And that's something that I work on with my own son, is kind of getting that out of his head. I know you want the high score. The high score is going to come, but your focus has got to be on those 10 sticks in front of you, right? Or whatever
Yeah.
you leave after the first ball.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so when I started working with my coach, I started to get better. And when I first started the league, I had an 86 average or something like that. So, and then kept working on my game until the end of the season, which ended in May, and ended up averaging in the 100s. I averaged 106 by the end of the season,
Okay.
which I thought was amazing. I was really excited about that.
Yeah. And that's important, I think, especially when you're a junior trying to make your way to see that result, those tangible results where you're going up 20 sticks after a season. That's got to kind of fuel that fire more, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm assuming you keep working with this coach after that?
I do.
Okay.
Absolutely. Bowling is something that you continue to work on. Even if you feel like your game is at its finest, you gotta keep working on it. There's always something you can improve on. And, just stay in it. And, it's been great. All the coaching that I've been getting is great.
Yeah. Tell me about your progress after that first season. Junior bowling has, many levels of potential success for players everywhere. What was it like for you to kind of make your way up in the years to follow?
So then I started my second season and I started bowling over the summer and stuff like that. And that's actually when I got my first ever reactive ball. And I was not ready for it because it was heavier than what I was throwing when I first started league. I was throwing a 12-pound my first season. I went up to a 14,
Okay.
and it was somebody else's ball that had been plugged. It was a Storm Thunderstruck. It was made way back, and that was kind of my first hook ball. It was kind of an entry level. And then I came back that next season, got my average into the 130s, started getting a whole lot better. And then having that team in the league and stuff was awesome. They always support me throughout the league and started getting some competition for sure. Because one of my friends, we kind of, even though we were on the same team, we still had a little bit of competition of our own.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Sure. Tell me about some of those people that you gravitated toward in junior league. Who were they, and what made you get along with them? Even, and I'm obviously in the heat of competition, you want to win. You're not
Yeah.
best friends, but you can hang out afterwards. Who were those people for you?
So one of those was my friend Sincere. So he's the one who was there when I first got to that league. So, we kind of bowled after league and stuff like that, got to know each other better, got to know each other's game a lot better. We bowled practice together, and he kind of taught me a lot of things too about the league and stuff like that, how long he's been doing it. He did it for I don't know, 8 years or so.
Okay.
And so he was kind of the one I started with. And, we were always friends on and off the lanes and stuff like that. So, and we still talk to each other now. And unfortunately, he's not bowling anymore. He's kind of got other things. He got into baseball and stuff like that.
Okay. But it sounds like the friendship still remains, and that's one of the best
Yeah,
parts of
and
this.
we'll still bowl together. We'll still have that competition and stuff like that. We like to send each other our scores and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, along with the long lasting friendships and things like that, you start getting better and better. And at age 13, you win your first tournament. Tell us about what that event was and what made you do so well in it.
So it was like kind of towards the end of the year. It was like a winter classic tournament. It was at another bowling center, at Hopewell Bowling Center, and
And
it
this is
was
also near Richmond?
yeah,
Okay.
and it was definitely a tough tournament because I wasn't used to bowl. For that tournament, that was the first time I ever bowled at that bowling center. So it was a whole different experience. The approaches were very slippery, and I wasn't ready for that. And me and my friend both competed in that tournament, and I was still, kind of in the work in progress with my bowling game and stuff like that. But I did really well, winning the singles. And then me and my doubles partner from the league, this wasn't my friend, but it was somebody else because we kind of got paired. We finished third, and the kid that I bowled with, his average was kind of in the one teens or so, but he bowled amazing, and he bowled way over his average, and I bowled way over my average, and we both kind of helped each other through that tournament because we were both little bit nervous. So
yeah,
it was great.
Yeah. What's that like? I mean, you've said a couple times now about how you were kind of nervous getting into it right away, but overcame it with the progress. You were a little nervous getting into this tournament, but overcame it to win the whole thing in singles. What's that feeling like to kind of come in a little unsure of yourself, but then leave a champion?
I think, it's a really great feeling because, I mean, everybody has to, kind of deal with the nerves a little bit and kind of just settle in. And my coach told me that pretend like you're bowling in league. It's, don't think of it as a tournament because you don't want to put a lot of pressure on yourself right from the beginning. And I think sometimes that's where the nerves come from. Bowling in your first tournament is putting a lot of pressure on yourself that you got to bowl well and you want to win and stuff like that. So you kind of just want to go into there, take it one step at a time, one frame at a time, and just stay in the moment and enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could describe what your game is like, how would you describe it to us? I don't have a picture or video of you bowling, so tell us what your game is like. How many steps you take? Do you turn it a lot?
So I have a 4-step approach now. That was kind of the first thing that I had to work on, was either taking 4 or 5 steps. So I started with 4 steps. And I would say I do put some rotation on it, not as much as a lot of other people do, but I do put some on it.
Yeah.
And I'm still been working on that as I go along, because there have been times where I kind of struggled with the release and stuff like that. Sometimes I get my hand around it a little too early, and the ball comes off the spot too hard. So I've been kind of just working on staying behind the ball, doing those foul line release drills, which I think everybody should do constantly when you're practicing. And that's something that my coach told me, is that just go to the bowling center and just do those foul line release drills, because even though they may seem boring and, not as fun as like taking the full approach, but it really does get your hand in the right feel to execute that good shot and be able to repeat.
Yeah. You had mentioned, the first reactive ball you got into maybe was not quite the right fit for you or the right weight. So, what was it like to get into a bowling ball that was for you?
It was definitely different because it was a lot heavier, and again, I kinda struggled with my release a little bit. I kinda got on top of it thinking that I had to completely rotate my hand to try to get it to hook down lane, but really, that's not the correct move. You just wanna stay behind it and just let your fingers put the rotation on it and just let the ball do the work.
Yeah.
So, and going to that 14-pound was a lot different because it was heavier than what I was originally throwing,
Okay.
but I kinda got used to it over time.
Yeah. As you were going through middle school, high school, was there any opportunity to compete for your school?
So there was a high school tournament here in Virginia, and um, people would compete on a team for their school. I went to Thomasdale High School, which was in Chester, but the bowling center that I bowled out with my team, we went for their school, which was actually Hopewell, Virginia High School. So, um, it was a great opportunity to bowl that high school tournament and represent another school, but it would have been nice to represent my school.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that area an area that has a lot of high school bowling and you just happen to be in a spot where you had to make that move to another, to represent a different school, or is it just
Yeah,
there isn't a lot in your area?
there's a lot in so the league that I was in was at Fort Lee, um on an army base, and a lot of the kids that were in it, all of the high school kids mostly were from, Hopewell and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of represented their school and kind of um, came in to represent their school. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So at some point, you make the transition from junior bowling into an adult league or adult competition. When did you make that move and what was it like?
So I made the move after I aged out of the youth league after my last year. Um, so that previous year, I was actually bowling in Hopewell at that bowling center because due to the COVID-19 pandemic, that was the only one that kind of started back up the league. So I did 2 years there and then I aged out. So then I talked to my coach and I was like, do you have any suggestions for any adult leagues I could get into?
Yeah.
And he said he bowled at one in Colonial Heights. It's at a bowling alley that's on the boulevard in Colonial Heights, Virginia, and it was a Tuesday morning league. And I was like, well, I'm going into college and stuff like that, so I have to kind of see what my school schedule looks like. But it allowed me to bowl in that Tuesday morning league, and because it was one of my days where I didn't have class or something like that, so I was able to get into that league. And At first, I was a little bit nervous getting into that league because I was the youngest one there.
Mhm.
Lot of older people and stuff like that, but I've kind of grown into knowing a lot of them. And then I got a team who was new into the league as well, just as I was. So it kind of made it a little bit better, and it was definitely a good experience to bowl in that adult league.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually called the center last week. This is the bowling center in Colonial Heights. And I asked about your team. I tried to get my contact info over to them so they could tell me what you were like as a teammate. Unfortunately, none of them called me back. That's okay. It happens. But if they were here and they were to tell me what you're like as a teammate, what do you think they'd tell me?
I would say I'm definitely very competitive. We have some hard teams in our league whose averages are really high. Like I would say lots of them cross the 200 barrier and stuff like that. So I'm definitely very competitive, but they would also say like I have really good sportsmanship and stuff like that. And even through all the competitiveness, I'm still able to keep that sportsmanship, which I feel like is hard for a lot of people. But I kind of, I joined that league new and didn't really know anybody. And then now kind of getting settled into that league, and it's definitely a lot better now. So that's kind of what they would tell me, is that I have that competitiveness but also a good team player.
Yeah. In the picture you sent that appears on the thumbnail on this video, it shows you holding a Storm Nova. Is that kind of the ball for you right now? If we saw you at league, would you be throwing that ball?
So that one I got, think like a month or two ago, and I kind of threw it a little bit and it didn't really like mix well with the league pattern that I was bowling on. Had that kind of hook stop motion to it, and it was a hybrid, so like it was different than what I was throwing because I have a solid asymmetrical ball, and then I have a few pearl symmetrical balls, and I like to throw those a lot more because they blend out the pattern very well.
Yeah.
So that one I took when I first got it. I used it in league for like about a month or so, and then it just didn't really mix well with my rev rate, my league pattern, and stuff like that.
Sure. Do you bowl any tournaments nowadays?
I do. Whenever there is an opportunity for one, I definitely try to get myself into it. So my first season bowling in the adult league, there was a state tournament back in March, and it was my very first adult tournament. So, and the first day we were bowling doubles, I was bowling with my doubles partner from the league, and I was bowling really well that day. Like I was bowling, you know, out of my mind, you should say. Like I had every game in the 200s except for one. I had a 244, something in the 220s, and then the only low game I had was still like a 186. And so I was like, you know, it was definitely a fun experience and stuff like that. And then the second day of the tournament definitely was a struggle. We were bowling teams that day. Um, it was definitely a lot harder than the first day, I would say. Um, and then when I came back the next week for league, because I still had to bowl in that Tuesday morning league, my coach got on the microphone and he was giving out the results of the tournament because I was bowling with him for my first adult tournament. He was on my lanes and stuff like that. So, and he says, that I finished first place in the handicap division over all the adults, and I beat 2 Virginia State Hall of Famers to do so, which
Wow.
was kind of a surprise to me because everybody was bowling really well over the tournament and stuff like that. So when I heard about the results, I was like, that's crazy. And I was like, and the fact that he got on the mic and the microphone and stuff like that, and everybody was just clapping, everybody was so happy and stuff like that. I was kind of shocked, and then I went up to him after and he was like, I have to, do things like this. You don't know what I'm gonna do. So it was kind of a surprise.
Yeah. The best kind though. I mean, that's awesome. So take me forward into the future. I mean, where do you go from here in bowling? Do you continue with the league and tournaments? Do you amp it up a little more?
Yeah, so I'm still gonna bowl in this league that I'm in, still bowl some local tournaments. And I recently followed this Facebook page that follows, the PBA regional tournaments and stuff like that whenever they come up to Virginia and stuff like that. It's called PBA Booster Club of Hampton Roads. They have, a whole thing where they do like a bunch of sweepers and a bunch of, different events for any skill level and stuff like that. So, and then that's how I also found out about, the PBA regional events coming up here to Virginia. And I did the Pro-Am, which was a lot of fun. So hopefully there is one next year that comes up to here, so I can definitely do that. But other than that, I do plan on bowling in some local tournaments and kind of taking my game a little bit further, hopefully continue to get better.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, the regional events are great, and bowling in the pro-ams is super. I've never had a bad experience in those, so I hope you get to to follow that up with more of those experiences for yourself. You've watched this show before, and at the end that I do this thing called Off the Sheet, where I ask you to challenge somebody else to be on a future show. It doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, but certainly can be. We look for people a lot like you, Connor, who are passionate about the sport and have a unique story to tell. So, Connor Brown, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
So, that's a tough question, but I have to, go with Jason Belmonte.
Okay.
For sure. He's kind of, the best bowler, kind of made the two-handed style to what it is today, and now I know so many bowlers are going to it, so it would definitely be interesting to have him on the show.
Yeah.
And I would say one of my other favorite bowlers was Dick Allen. And I got to meet him a while back, and he kind of gave me a lesson or two, and which was really cool. So it would be great to have him on and talk about kind of his bowling story. He has the tattooed typical house bowler, so that would be interesting to hear about how that came about. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, great suggestions. Of course, Jason Belmonte, the multi-time player of the year, major champion of all time, the most majors in a career, and Dick Allen's a great personality too. It'll be interesting to see where both of them land as a result of this PBA Elite League draft, as Jason Belmonte
Absolutely
could end up as a player manager, and Dick Allen, having bowled for the Milwaukee Pounders, which is no longer part of the PBA Elite League, is kind of looking for a home. So we'll be watching on Wednesday to see where both of them land in this. But Dick, Jason, if you're watching this and you're interested in coming on the show, feel free to reach out. I'm Andrew Pfeffer. You can find me on Facebook or email bowlingwiththepfeff@yahoo.com, and we will certainly make that happen. We have another PBA star coming on this next Tuesday, December 12th, 7 p.m. Central. We will welcome Kevin McCune, who was coming off a 2023 PBA Players Championship win. He has been a member of the Bolero LAX team, but again, what will happen on Wednesday? We'll kind of discuss all that the night before, plus his bowling story, of course, on Tuesday, December 12th, 7 p.m. Central. Don't miss it. Connor, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for, watching the show live as much as you do. I really appreciate that, but certainly for sharing your bowling story. We really appreciate that too.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this and kind of preparing what I was going to say and stuff like that. But, I'll continue to watch your upcoming streams and stuff like that, and, continue with bowling and, see where it goes in the future, and can't wait to watch the upcoming PBA Tour season.
Yeah, it'll be here before you know it, starting in January. So we will certainly be interested in following along as well. But thanks again, and thanks to all of you who are watching tonight. Really appreciate it on a Friday night. From there, be just and fear not. We'll see you again next time.